Today we're doing a homegrown kitchen tour, and we're going to make it a little easier on the eyes by bringing things up to this counter, just kind of talking through the kitchen essentials. 95% of this content today is driven by Joey, because honestly he's the better cook and a trained chef. And
Maybe more mechanically sound cook, less than...
You're better, it's fine. Anyways, we're going to go through, if you're like, what do I need to stock my kitchen, or what should I swap over time to get rid of some of the garbage maybe I registered during my wedding 10, 15 years ago. We're going to hook you up.
Or maybe you're about to register for your wedding.
Oh, then you are lucky.
You are lucky.
You are stumbling on this video.
Some of the guiding principles I use when I'm formulating like a picture or a vision that I want to have for our kitchen. So is one, we want multitaskers. We want things that can do a lot, right? We don't want any of these plastic things that cut corn off, corn off the cob, or apple. Anything that has a singular task, I typically don't want that thing. It takes up space in your kitchen, and ultimately you're looking for that excuse to use it. You'd be better off learning how to use tools that can do everything. We want things that are long-lasting or durable. So you're going to notice a lot of the stuff that's here today is going to be, you maybe only have a few of those items, but they're longer lasting, they're more durable, and they're more capable. We want to try to avoid plastic or natural. Like, we want things to be as natural as possible.
Wood, steel, everything else is steel, right? Like, and we have a couple other things too. Maybe cotton dish towels, cotton proofing baskets. Everything is going to be of natural materials as much as possible.
So, and that's where like a lot of the influence I think I brought to our kitchen. And you definitely brought in some of the aesthetically pleasing stuff. So it's definitely on our list, things being aesthetically pleasing. I'm going to quickly run through some of this. I don't want this video to be too long and too boring. But let's start with some of the kitchen basics, some of the things that we use every single day that if you were looking to swap things out in your kitchen to really upgrade or to set yourself up for success in the kitchen, here's some of the items that I would start with. Very first and foremost is knives. You're going to use knives when you cook. You are going to. This is a brand that I love. It's called Shun. They're bamboo, natural bamboo like handles. I believe it's a Damascus steel. Very, very, very sharp. It can take an extremely sharp edge. And you only need a few of them because they can do a lot. So this is what's going to be called your traditional chef knife. Now this is a scalped blade. Not necessary. It just happens to be the one we have. It was given to us, I believe. It was a gift. And so chef knife, you're looking at that 6 to 8 inch range. 10 inch is pretty big. I feel like 10 inch is almost like a more specific knife if you're doing a lot of, you're cutting a lot of watermelons, or you need a bigger knife for something. So
what is that?
This is an 8 inch.
8 inch, yeah. I don't think I'd want to go any bigger, yeah.
This is actually my favorite knife, and this is called a utility knife, and it's unserried, so it's a smooth blade utility knife. One of my favorite knives of all time. It does everything. So cutting vegetables, chopping vegetables, breaking down chickens, to trimming venison meat before it goes into the grinder. This knife does everything. I love it. It's small enough that fits your hand. It's super mobile. It's not super heavy. I feel very comfortable with it. I love this utility knife. And I, for perspective, have had this knife since I was 16 years old, and I am now 30. So there you go.
It's like a longer paring knife, right?
Absolutely. And then the paring knife. That's what this is. And this is I'm peeling small vegetables. I'm chopping up a carrot for the kids. I'm cutting an apple into slices. This is and something that I've found is a great introduction to real knives for your kids, right? Because when they are smaller, they want to learn how to cut things, and you give them the carrot that you've cut one flat side on so that it doesn't roll around on them. You give them this, and then they can kind of cut the carrot, they can cut the potatoes.
Would you ever use that to chop an onion?
If it's all I got, yeah. If it's all I got.
But not ideal.
Not ideal, no, not ideal. I'm going with these two here for the onion.
I can't tell you how many times I stumble upon people cutting up an onion with the paring knife.
Yeah.
And I say, you have so much more leverage with the bigger blade.
Totally.
Intermission for the sourdough.
Last knife is a bread knife. You might think to yourself, I don't really need that. And you know what? We're going to get into this video a little bit deeper, and you'll see how much bread we're talking and how much we're dealing with. and what kind of bread we're dealing with. And you will likely want a bread knife. This is the only serrated blade that we really need. Otherwise, these should be able to do it all. Sometimes you'll see people that have what's called like a tomato knife. Again, Uni-tasker at that point. And this tomato knife is a serrated blade. It's very like flimsy. Maybe it's even perforated, meaning like holes in the blade to kind of reduce some of the friction so the tomato doesn't stick to the blade to cut tomatoes with. Well, all of these knives here should be able to cut a tomato. This theoretically could, but it's primarily used for bread. But again, also if I'm slicing a large roast, again, still not even a Uni-tasker. Ready to rock and roll, bread knife. Big fan of that one in particular. And then this is a sharpening stone. Okay, so here you have these great knives, and something that's extremely important is that you keep your knives sharp. And so you'll recognize as you've been using them, like, wow, it's time to sharpen our knives, and we can make that happen. Anything else with the knives?
No, I think that wraps that up.
Since we're in the cutting stage of this, cutting board. Talk to me about cutting boards.
Well, this is your cutting board made by your dad, but we have a whole host of wooden cutting boards. These are like what I would classify as disposable, meaning we're going to replace them probably every year and a half. Okay, giant one, and then some mediocre ones. We cut onions, garlic, all the aromatic foods on these. And then we leave this big board as our, what I call non-onion board. If you've ever like sliced an apple right after your spouse has come in dicing the onions, you don't want to finish the apple. So we dedicate this large board, which lives on our counter, as basically a non-onion board. So fruit, bell pepper, tomato, you can slice all that on here. Nothing that's going to seep into the wood. And then we use these wooden cutting boards for everything else. When I'm dicing up stuff for...
Cutting up raw meat or cutting up...
Yeah, we use wood for everything.
Jalapeno peppers or...
And a question I often get is people are so scared to use wood with raw meat. One, we've never had an issue with it. Two, we don't even sanitize these in the dishwasher because that would be terrible for the wood. So we use our lard dish soap and let them air dry, and we've never had a problem. They come out clean. I think if you were to dig online, you could find plenty of reasons why plastic cutting boards are just a bad idea in general. So that's what we use for cutting boards. Like I said, one big kind of, I don't know what you would call that.
A really large board like this, for perspective, right?
Don't drop it on your toe.
I'm 6 foot tall, so this is a very large board. It's extremely heavy. It's not convenient. It would not be something you want to pull in and out of the pantry.
No.
And I'm going to tell you, you should get one like this. And the way that you use it is not like one of these cutting boards. We had a small apartment that had about this much counter space at one point. And the way that we got around that problem is that this just became our counter. We wiped it down the same way we'd wipe a counter down.
Like a butcher block.
And if we had to cut raw meat or things that we wouldn't want to have like slopped all over our counter, again, we pulled out the other board, put those boards on top of this board, right? Then what we were able to do is use this up next to the sink, wipe it off like we would the counter, cut on it, apple, carrots, celery, whatever else, wipe it down, and we were ready to go. So.
And we use it sometimes for like when we throw big parties and we want to do like a really big charcuterie board. Even though it's kind of beat up and distressed, it can still function. It's still a beautiful piece.
And durable, long lasting, because I've had this since I was like 16, 17, this exact board. And all you have to do as it ages and takes on a bunch of cut marks, one, either be okay with that character, or two, sand it down and hit it with some kind of food grade sealant, which is typically more like an olive oil, coconut oil, something like that. Something that's going to kind of preserve some of that wood from warping and or staining from water or other liquids getting onto it. Anything else on cutting boards?
No, let's move into all of our stainless steel.
Let's talk about stainless steel. And I'm going to start with cookware, okay? Instead of prepware, I'm going to call it. Now, these are, again, we are budget-minded people, okay? These are stainless steel, and that's what we recommend, and it's what you should, I believe, have in your kitchen. These are my grandfathers, and they have, which is a testament to how long they last. If I were to get a perfect set, they would be totally oven safe, meaning that we'd have metal handles on here. And I brought an example of what that looks like in our skillet. So our stainless steel skillet has a stainless steel handle, no plastic on it anywhere. And why that's beautiful is that I could start something in this pan and then finish it in the oven. Now, I don't have that luxury with these pans. Now, what I will say is that we make up for that, right? I can't do any roasting in this because we have cast iron. We'll get to that in a second. So you're gonna want saucepans. That's what you call this right here. This is your saucepan.
Multiple sizes.
But you don't need it, right? Let's say you're just getting a few stainless steel pans, right?
You think adjusting that one, adjusting this one?
I'm saying as a start, right? If you're making 5-course meals and you need to have like multiple pans on at the same time, totally. But this particular pan in and of itself, having a saucepan, critical. Find one that you like for your size, for your family. This is where you're going to be making a lot of your rice, a lot of your quick warming up foods. Maybe you're making hot chocolates. Maybe you're making.
Trying to see the size of this.
Maybe you're melting butter for baking, or you're making pastry creams. Stainless steel, again, the best for all those actions for a number of reasons. Not even just in the longevity of it, but also aluminum can have chemical reactions with different forms of your food.
Yeah.
Especially if you start cooking things that are acidic. So if you're making, in our next pan, this is a bigger one. I'm going to call this a stock pot. This is not a traditional stock pot by any stretch of the imagination. Went to culinary school, so prideful there. But this is what we would use as our stock pot. So all of our chicken stocks, this is where we can boil our pasta, boil our potatoes, make our chilies. This, again, stainless steel. And when you're putting a bunch of tomato-based foods into a pan, if it's aluminum, it is absolutely, that acid, especially with the heat, is absolutely eating away at that aluminum, and that aluminum is getting into your food. Don't use aluminum pans. I would definitely encourage you to get away from it. Again, if I had a perfect pan, I would not have plastic edges, because I would so love to use this pan to start a chicken on into the oven, but we cannot with this one because, for obvious reasons. So. Anything that you want to say else about pans?
No, that was good.
So let's talk about cast iron. We have two.
Okay.
You have 2 cast iron pans.
One is currently in use. Should we bring it over?
Yeah.
What's our bigger one? Which we have just warmed up our leftover lunch. Which again, kitchen tour, we don't have a microwave. We don't use a microwave. We reheat everything in these or this. As simple as you have pasta you need to reheat, we pour boiling water over it. You have chicken you need to reheat, we put it on the stove. You have, name something.
Or put it in the oven, right? So you can throw it in a pan, throw something in the oven depending on how you want to heat it up.
It's kind of beautiful, but it's the scraps of our food.
Yeah, so that was dinner from yesterday that we had for lunch today. And so chicken, vegetables, and yeah, good to go. Cast iron pans. This is probably one of my favorite pans in the world. And the reason why is that the more you use it, the better and more effective they become. This is like our guiding principles to a T.
I was trying to measure it.
Everything about it, this is a 10-inch.
10-inch.
And this is a 6-inch, I believe. So the cast iron pans, the more you use them, the better they get. They're going to have a better kind of like seal on the bottom the more they get seasoned and cooked on. I love them. I love the fact that someday this particular pan, which we got brand new, by the way.
These are both Lodge brand.
Correct. We got these both brand new. They're probably, nowadays, maybe $40.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the first time you use it, it's...
Excuse me.
I'll tell you what, the first time you use one of these, it might be even a little bit frustrating because they're really porous, they're brand new, they're not going to have any kind of like non-stick functionality to them.
Yeah.
The more you use them, the more you beat them up, the better they become. And one day our kids will actually be able to use these pans in their house.
Yeah.
Should they want them.
Well, we only have 2.
There you go.
We should get a 3rd.
I know.
Next.
I didn't want to get into too many kitchen tools. Or just spatulas, those sorts of things. But this one, and this one's, again, I got it at Kroger, it was cheap. Whenever one breaks, I get another one. Having a flat stainless steel spatula is so important for all this kind of cookware. These things started going out of style when everybody started cooking with nonstick. Right? The reason why these started going out of style is because this would destroy your nonstick pan. Well, This brings a lot of benefits to not having nonstick pans in the sense that not only is it just having a sturdy but also somewhat flexible spatula, huge for cooking in cast iron, cooking in stainless steel pans, but also in cleaning them and seasoning them. So once you're done with your cast iron, there's all these bits and stuff that's stuck all over the bottom, and you take this and you've got it in the bottom of your pan and you're running it across that cast iron pan and scraping out anything that was left on the bottom. That's going to do a number of different things. It's going to help wear it down and create that flat surface that you're looking for in your cast iron pan anyway. So over time, right, you're using this to help shape that pan. I'd actually even love, to be honest, to have a second one that was even a little bit smaller for more nooks and crannies.
The mini spat?
Mini spat.
We used to have it.
We named it Mini Spat. It was a little mini spatula.
Beloved.
And she broke, and we just haven't replaced it.
Christmas time.
Christmas time, maybe. Highly, highly recommend stainless steel, sturdy but flexible spatula.
The last stainless steel bit. Your prep stuff?
Prep stuff. These are things you're just going to use every day. Colanders, okay? We found these. Again, I'm a big fan of stainless steel because it gets clean and it's durable. And, we like the way it looks. So, there you go. Fitting all of our guiding principles. Stainless steel colanders, small, medium, large. If I'm honest, these came in a set. That's why we have them. This is the only one you need. You only need a big one. You can wash your vegetables in here. You can rinse your lettuce. You can strain off your potatoes. You can strain off your vegetables. You can blanch your green bean. It's just, they're good to go. And you don't have to worry about any kind of chemicals or things transferring to your food. And basically, you can't hurt them. They're lightweight. They're awesome.
We had a plastic colander up until 6 months ago, which is embarrassing because if you think about what you use your colander for, you're pouring hot pasta water in it.
Totally.
And I knew every time I hated it. It was making me so mad. My mom eventually was like, "I'm buying you a set." I don't know why I didn't do it. Here's my only addition to this though, because I don't use this for stock. Having a large sieve, which is just like a fine mesh situation that you can also do all those things in. You could pour your pasta water out in, whatever. I use this for stock, and that's so important. So I would never use a colander for stock. It's just the holes are too big. So having a nice mesh sieve. We have multiple sizes of this as well, but this is really the only size you need.
Tea, stocks, again, all of our things are multitaskers. And finally, and we have a bunch of these. They weigh almost nothing. Stainless steel bowls, absolutely critical for a kitchen in my opinion. Everything from prepping food to dressing a salad to
double boiling.
I use these to make our hollandaise sauces. We use these for making cookies, to sourdough work, to everything. Stainless steel bowls. You don't have to worry about them reacting to anything you put in here. They can be hot, cold, freezer. You could put these on the stove. You could put them. You could just throw these around. That's why I love them, and they're gonna last forever. Good to go.
And they were cheap.
You could put it in the dishwasher if you wanted to.
We bought these at a restaurant supply store. Very, very cheap.
That's cookware.
All right, next segment is our cleaning dishwasher and hand soap. We said on a recent podcast that if you're going to switch to this all natural living idea, you don't have to buy into the ready-made all-purpose cleaners that are non-toxic. Yes, they're great and wonderful, but sometimes it's expensive to buy into a full program, right? Sometimes you have to buy all the bottles. It's an upfront cost. We have simplified our setup by using basically two things. One, Castile soap, and two, our lard dish soap. Okay, so all of our dishes get washed with solid lard dish soap. This is just saponified lard. That's all it is. We're also, we've really been loving having it inside of a ramekin situation so that you can just kind of
suds it up and go.
Put your brush in, stick your sponge in. The other piece about using this large solid dish soap, which always kind of wigs people out because they're used to liquid detergent. Okay, we gave that up a year ago and we're so happy because it's garbage. Not only is it truthfully full of a bunch of stuff you don't need, but traditional soap gets the grease off because like washes like, so it's forming these sudsy bubbles, rinsing the grease exactly down the drain. This, although it's made from fat, all soap is made from fat. I wish more people knew that. Castile soap is made from fat, okay? So don't be freaked out that the soap has lard in it. That's what makes it effective. It is so saponified, it has gone through a chemical reaction. And so it's also really soft on your skin. Anyways, enough about the lard soap. We pair that with a natural sea sponge. Okay, this is an animal that lives in the sea that gets harvested. This is one in use. It's currently wet. This is a dry one that we have under our sink for the next time we need to use it. Using sea sponges instead of the plastic, nasty synthetic sponges means that we don't have to worry about mold or mildew or bacteria getting inside of these little things, because these puppies are naturally resilient to it, okay? They've got little enzymes in them. They think about how they live in the water. They want to be in the water. So when we harvest these things and dry them out and use them as a sponge, how they originally were used, the original sponge, I should say, then we come up with a much better solution to something that can scrub.
So this is how we're doing our dishes.
This is our dishes.
So we've got sponges and we've got lard dish soap.
The last piece, and it's currently wet because we do dishes all day long, is a horsehair. We're going to sound so bougie. People are going to be like, what are they doing? Horsehair and maple wooden dish brush. I'm telling you, I've had this for over 2 years. I still use it. We're currently working to hopefully resell these brushes because we love them so much. But these horsehair brushes, the bristles are literally horsehair.
Start that over.
Is it ready? Oh, it's ready.
Just pull this out.
I'll pull it out in a second. Anyways, this dish brush, because it's not plastic, I can quickly brush a kind of a hot pan. It gets really sudsy. This whole thing is all natural material. That's our dishes.
Let's talk about hand soap.
Hand soap, okay? Hand soap and all-purpose cleaner fall in the exact same category because we're using the same product. Here I have an old bottle of a brand I used to use. I no longer use this brand, but I really like the trigger on the bottle. So admittedly, I have kept the bottle for many, many months. Same solution is in here that I would put in here, that I would put in here, just different dilutions of Castile soap. So for the hand soap, I'm usually doing like a 9-part water, 1-part soap. And this, I don't really measure it. I just kind of put water in here, and then I just kind of...
I know we normally talk about wanting to avoid plastic, and what I would say is that if somebody knows of a cheap foaming hand soap dispenser,
oh yeah, that actually
is
works,
all glass and not plastic, we would love that.
We would love it.
But these are like $2, and they do what we need to do, and it allows us to not have to buy expensive hand soap. So
yeah, you need a foamer if you're going to utilize the Castile soap method. Again, Castile soap, you can buy it on Amazon in large jugs. My next purchase, when I run out of this, which I've had this for I think 2 or 3 months already, and I still have probably another month or 2 out to get out of it, I will replace with a larger jug. You don't have to buy any particular brand. So
the Castile soap has become like our kitchen surface cleaner hand soap kind of.
She's a multitasker.
That's the play. And then we've leaned heavily into the solid form, large soap, because this is liquid. And that's it. So all 3 of these Castile products. So this is the concentrate, if you will. It's filling those 3 bottles. And then we've got a bunch of these. These are just unscented bricks of lard dish soap that we make and we sell. And so we have it here, and it is how we wash our dishes. We use sponges and the brush. This is just a little wooden piece that we can put it on so that it helps drain back into the sink. It's, again, aesthetics. Talk to me about dishwashers, because people have dishwashers out there.
Yeah, okay, I've never found a dishwasher detergent that's like amazing, perfect, awesome. So if you know of one, please leave it in the comments.
Or you know of somebody that makes one.
Yeah, we'd love to buy it. One particularly that's not going to be insanely expensive would be awesome. Simple Truth had an original dishwasher pod that was absolute garbage, didn't work. We tried it. Do you remember? And we literally had to throw it away.
Nothing we could clean.
They reformulated, and now they've got these little pods but then there's some kind of also additional liquid in there. Whatever the trick is that they added in here is actually working really well. This is 0 fragrance, 0 dyes, 0 chlorine bleach. But like I said, there's probably something better on the market. We just don't know of it.
Yeah.
So let us know. Not affiliated with any of these brands, obviously. So that's our whole thing.
This is how we keep this place clean.
This is what's in our under the sink cabinet. It's really simple. We don't use Windex. We should talk about that actually. Do you know where the pink thing is? I think it's in the gym. We don't use Windex to clean our counters. We use a microfiber cloth. We don't use, and we also have this puppy too. This is like a mesh dishcloth that works really well to suds up with this lard soap. But we've been able to simplify.
100%.
It's so much cheaper.
The chef inside me has to say this because there's going to be people out there that ask. We are not currently sanitizing our house.
No.
And so that was a choice we made. Mm-hmm. But there is an easy way to sanitize if that is something that you are interested in. In culinary school, now again, I don't know the absolute best method because we don't do it on a regular basis or ever, but sanitation refers to the elimination or the termination of bacteria and grime that might be on the surface of something. And it doesn't mean removal. It's just they're all dead, but they're still there. So sanitation would mean, it'd be like hand sanitizer, right? Hand sanitizer will leave everything on your hands, but just kill most of it, right? That's what sanitizing a surface does. Cleaning is getting it off the surface. So if you get it off the surface and down the drain, great. That's what we're looking for. So that's what we do, and we are comfortable with that, and it has worked for us for years. Believe it or not, we don't really get sick very often. No stomach bugs. We eat a lot of raw meat in the house. So I feel like if
we don't eat it raw.
We work with a lot of raw meat in the house. Good point. Anyways.
You can if that's what you're
Bleach. Bleach is a sanitation chemical.
I think you can use vinegar.
You could possibly use vinegar. I don't know that for sure.
I'm not so much into the bleach.
Again, in mainstream culinary programs,
I know.
50 parts per 1 million bleach to water is a sanitation solution. It needs to be kept hot so that it dissipates. Again, right? You're trying to get it on the surface to kill stuff, and then you want it to steam off.
Yeah.
And that is how a sanitation solution would work.
Is that what they do in the restaurants?
Well, that's why you'd have a wash, rinse, sanitize station. So you'd have a big sink full of sudsy water, wash the dish. You'd rinse it in water.
No,
and then you would rinse it, dunk it, if you will, in a sanitation solution that's really hot, and you'd put it on a rack and it would air dry. Yeah. That would be a sanitized, clean, washed, sanitized dish.
I'm familiar with the 3.
We just don't do that.
The 3-bay sink. I'm familiar.
Heat can sanitize.
Mm-hmm.
So you're killing stuff with heat. So if you were to use a liquid that was 160 degrees or higher on that's why, anyways. Sanitation and cleaning, we got this is our cleaning setup.
Okay. Sourdough. I literally just got this out.
Isn't it embarrassing how much stuff we have up here for sourdough?
But it's so pretty.
And it's been over time. And so I think to start,
the spread is hot.
This is going to be overwhelming. And it's just been like a because it's such a craft that you can get really into and enjoy, we have accumulated.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Anyways, sourdough, my beautiful starter. Look how bubbly she is. I could already bake with it again. We'll do a full video on start to finish bread. That's just not this video. I know, isn't it so pretty? Here's what you need. I'll tell you your absolute essentials and then some nice to haves. Okay, absolute essential is a bowl to mix your stuff in. I like a heavier bowl so that when I'm going in and I'm doing my stretch and folds or maybe coil folds or however you're folding, it's not going to be so easy to lift off the counter. Sometimes I do make bread in those stainless steel bowls that we showed earlier, but they can be kind of, I feel like I'm lifting the whole bowl off the counter. So I really like a sturdy bowl like this. This is actually handmade in Ohio, which makes it even more special because that's where we live. Proofing basket falls in between nice to have and need. I would say if you're going to get into sourdough and you're going to bake at least once a week or at least 3 times a month, then it's worth it to invest in the proofing basket. Because here's why. This thing is what your dough goes in when it goes into your fridge for the cold proof. It's not only helping it get its shape, But the most important thing is wicking moisture away from your dough. The dough that we make, the breads that we make, are very high hydration. And so if you put a high hydration loaf into a bowl, maybe like this with just a tea towel in it, it's going to have nowhere for that excess moisture to go. So it's going to get really soupy, and then when you go to maybe dump it out onto your parchment paper and score it, it's really wet and maybe it falls flat. That's why I like proofing basket. They make rattan proofing baskets that also do the same thing. We kind of innovated on this proofing basket, so this is the one we created for our shop, Haselmayer Goods. But this is cotton coiled, it's washable, it folds, you can stick it in a drawer. I love it, it's beautiful, checks all the boxes. A wire rack to obviously,
cooling rack.
You'd use that for so many other things. It's just helpful to have when you need to
cookies,
cool
cakes, breads, steaks that you want to rest.
You don't want, because this thing is piping hot when it comes out of the oven, you want this bottom part to also have some ventilation, so lifting it up is really, really helpful. I will show you what I baked it in, and I always get comments.
It was just used, so it's a little hot.
Okay. A Dutch oven. Okay, I know it's scorched, and it was white at one time. I might have a picture of it white. I don't care what it looks like on the outside. It gets the job done. This is a Le Creuset, I believe 4 quart? 7 quart?
7 quart.
7 quart, okay?
4 quart.
4 quart small.
Small.
You don't have to have a giant Le Creuset like that. You can actually get a cast iron combo cooker. Look them up on Amazon or wherever you want to find them.
Again, that's a huge multitasker.
Oh.
So we bought the Le Creuset.
No, we didn't buy it. It was a gift.
It was a gift. Anyways, we got the Le Creuset, and the functions you can do with it are endless. Again, chilies, stews, roasting. So the whole thing is oven safe. So you can saute something on the stove in that, hit a little bit of red wine, some stock, whatever else, into the oven for it to braise for X amount of hours. You can put that on your campfire. It's just like it's ready to rock and roll. I'm a huge fan.
It's our most loved pan, you can tell. This is a proofing basket currently in use. Joey was like, where's the other proofing basket? Well, it was in the fridge. It's currently holding dough. I need to bake this. I just made this bread. But this is what it looks like, okay? This is my round. I usually put a wet cloth over it, and then it gets stored in the fridge for its cold proof. So our proofing baskets, obviously you need a jar for your starter. I like to buy just straight razor blades. I don't mess with the bread loom. I don't even need it. I just hold the razor blade in my hand. And then from there, you've got a couple nice to haves. A really nice stainless steel bench scraper is nice, especially if you're dealing right on the counter with some high hydration doughs. You can get under that dough and lift it, and it just helps you clean off extra flour. It does all kinds of things, and it's really, really nice. Also helps when you're cutting 2 loaves in half. Say, like last night, I made 1,000-gram loaf, cut it into 500 grams.
We're making pizza dough, and you want to cut them into segments.
We're making pizza dough. Our wooden whisk, again, we created this for Haselmayer Goods, but I love it because it's so much easier to clean. You can also use like a wire whisk, wire dough whisk. They're just a little trickier to clean, and our previous one that we owned broke right away, which was kind of a bummer. So this is just one solid piece. I feel like I can use it however I want. This is called a spurtle. You might have seen spurtles that look more like a wand. This is just a flat rendition of it. You can use it to stir your starter. And then, as Joey mentioned before, a phenomenal bread knife is always a nice to have. Add this to your Christmas list if you don't already have one. And our bread box, which I will say, we had this. This is the thing I always get questions on. Where did you get your bread box? We had this made as a prototype. We had to lengthen the depth of it because they didn't make ones that were large enough for maybe a
sourdough.
Big crusty loaf of sourdough. It has a cutting board that comes out that slides right back in. You can cut your bread on that. It's hot. I don't want to cut it. Don't cut your bread before an hour. I know it's really hard to wait. Anyways, and then we store stuff up here. So like sometimes we'll put like our tomatoes from the farm up here. I don't ever really put those up there, but you could if you wanted. You could, a carton of eggs fits in here if you have unwashed eggs that can sit out without being refrigerated. Put your tools up here. I've even put our bread knife up here. that was. Anyways, that kind of rounds out our sourdough kitchen tour portion.
Let's talk about coffee.
Last one.
All the things, coffee and water filtration. Kind of want to hit those topics. Again, just to reiterate, these are things that over, 8 years, we have incrementally adjusted, improved, looked for better ways, better solutions. So things like water filtration, we have gone through a number of different options. So you'll see this back here. Right now, this is just a big water urn. So we do not currently use, if you know what this is the Berkey. It's a water filtration brand. We are using this as a big stainless steel urn to pour water out of this filter into that to hold it for us. We'll talk about the water filtration here in a second. Coffee, we've kind of gone over the years. So I would almost recommend to no one to go out and buy all this stuff right away.
No.
So, but I am going to go through it. But I do want to start off with, if you want to get into coffee, you want to get into really good coffee, you want to find coffee that you know is being harvested in a way that is appropriate and treating their farmers like they should be. Mm-hmm. It's a humane product, right? It's not something that is being, oh my gosh, like almost like slave labor kind of situation. Mm-hmm. Additionally, you want to find coffee that is clean, not gonna like mess you up. It's not gonna be like moldy or disgusting. You gotta buy specialty beans. The other thing that's gonna do, the other benefit, is that specialty coffee beans are the #1 step towards I want to drink really good coffee. There's some other ones. I'm going to talk about them in order. Mm-hmm. But I believe buying good coffee is your absolute #1 option. So finding a specialty coffee roaster that's going to sell you amazing beans is your first step. And then I would say your second step, let's talk about grinders. Okay. This is what's called, and this is not a very fancy, this is not super expensive. This is what's called a burr grinder. B-U-R-R, burr grinder. Essentially how it works is that there are burrs or gears that spin, and the coffee beans fall in between it, and they get pulverized into a very consistent shape that is good for extracting coffee. This is very different from what would be more of like a traditional spice grinder that a lot of people use. And what that is a blade that spins, and everybody can hear the sound, right? Right? That's kind of the old traditional coffee grinder. My parents used it. Like anyone that's out there that is boomer, maybe Gen X, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Give them a close up of some of that coffee.
Okay, can we?
So that's kind of what it looks like coming out of the grinder. They're not gonna be able to tell. Anyways, it smells amazing. You can just have her pull it out. I love the smell.
Is it auto-focusing?
It's probably grabbing it a little bit. Anyways, getting yourself a good grinder, the reason why I'm saying this in order is very important, okay? Starting off with really good coffee is your #1, first priority when it comes to getting into good coffee. If you drink coffee and I want to drink good coffee that tastes better and is better for me, buying specialty beans is the #1 option. #2 is the grinder. Why grinder? Well, why not the coffee maker? I should go out and buy these all expensive. If you get a proper grind, and you're extracting differently, you're treating those beans better, this is your next option. So if you are progressing into coffee, start with beans, super easy. Whatever method you're using right now will be improved by the beans, whatever method you're using. You can't really use these in a Keurig, but if you're making it in your Mr. Coffee pot, your percolator, or your French press, whatever you're using to make coffee, these are going to make it better. #2, grinder, right? You can change, it can go back and forth to change different grind sizes. You can kind of tinker with that to see kind of what the strength of coffee you enjoy is. The next step after that would be your brewing method. Okay, so you've got your grinder, you've got your nice beans, and to get a brewing method, this part kind of comes in 2 parts, right? So the traditional pour over, which is what we like, it's a very mild way of drinking your coffee, where it's not steeping, it's more passing through on a pour over. You're pouring water over the beans and it's dripping down through. This is called a Chemex. If you know what it is, you know what it is. Essentially what happens is a filter sits on top of this ramekin, or this, what would you call
it?
Pitcher. And just like that, your beans go into the filter, and you take your water in a kettle that you've warmed up, and you pour it over the top. Filters through, coffee's below, this goes into the garbage, and you're ready to rock and roll. These can be found in reusable forms. This is currently our favorite. We think it brews the best coffee. So if you've used a reusable thing out there that you think it brews better than this, let me know. And next, from there, you're getting into a whole other world. So this is like the bare minimum.
Just these.
This is like, I want to get into pour-overs, I want to have really good coffee. Now, now, once you've done this, if you're like, I need more, I love to tinker, maybe you're like Joey Haselmayer and you want to get really nuts with it. That's when you can get things.
Introducing. The
scale.
Yeah.
This is your next bet, right? So this is a digital scale, weighs in grams. Now I'm able to weigh out precisely how much coffee I'm brewing. I can change the grind. And I can go from 40 grams to 45 grams to 60 grams to 35 grams. And I can also weigh out exactly how much water is passing through those to what my brew becomes. So, hey, I typically do a 16-to-1 ratio, meaning I use 40 grams of coffee and I pour over 640 grams of water. Okay, so you've done all that. You got the scale. And you're like, man, Joey, I want to even go even more nuts with it.
This scale also has a timer, so when you get into pour over and you know you want to hit near that 4-minute mark, this scale will help you get there. It will help you realize, hey, I'm actually taking 5 or 6 minutes to brew. Maybe my grind is too fine, and I need to change my grind.
I'll before we end this segment, I'll walk through these brands of what specific brands we use. Then you can get into temperature controlled water. So this is, turn this device on, and you can use this dial here, and you can pick the exact temperature you want the water to be held at. Not only just brewed up to, but it will hold it at exactly 204 degrees Fahrenheit. And so that's what we do right now is we hold this at 204 degrees Fahrenheit. We pour 640 grams of water over 40 grams of coffee that are ground on like a medium to coarse grind size. And it takes me about 3.5 to 4 minutes, 15 seconds, depending on the day and how locked in I am to pouring the water over the coffee. Wow. Beyond that, we haven't gone beyond that. Right now, to show you what our current coffee setup is, we have currently moved away from this, primarily because of its insulation qualities. Because it's a one thicker but layer of glass. Coffee comes in here, tastes amazing. I have no qualms with the flavor. It just doesn't keep it hot. Mm-mm. And so, as parents of 3 children, it just doesn't work. So we want to brew our coffee and then get distracted and come back to hot coffee. Anyways, I'll let you kind of jump in with how we've solved that.
Yeah, so Fellow is the brand of a lot of this stuff you see here, really just this and this piece right here. They make a beautiful double wall insulated glass carafe. I wish I could show it to you. This piece sits right on top of it. Just envision, it's gorgeous. I shattered it, unfortunately. Otherwise, we would show it to you. We loved it when we used it. Absolutely, really enjoyed it. And I would buy it again if I thought for sure I was not going to shatter it again. But that's not the case. So, just being realistic, I went on Amazon and I looked up a stainless steel, what would you call this?
Coffee carafe.
Coffee carafe, okay? This thing is insulated. This is like built to keep it hot. And so, I actually found that this little piece from Fellow just sits right on top perfectly. And so, we just brew our coffee right into here. When we're done brewing, we screw on the lid. And then, especially like when we go on road trips and stuff, we just take this with us and we just pour right into our cup.
It's like a thermos, keeps it hot.
Yeah, you guys saw that on the episode that we did about going to Holly Springs, if you watched the North Carolina episode. And so this thing has been a game changer for all of the, like Joey said, parents who want to come back to hot coffee.
We found this on Amazon. The brand is called Tiken, T-I-K-E-N. That's what it looks like. Feel free.
Comes in all different colors.
It was like $20.
I don't even think it was that much.
Anyways, it was a great solution to not having to go out and buy an expensive $90 glass carafe that was very beautiful and we loved it. It was
gorgeous.
But we did break it.
I do miss it.
Finally, let's talk about water filtration.
Yes. Okay, so I have talked to a lot of people on our podcast and asked them about water filtration. I have both interviewed just the absolute pinnacle of health and people who are everyday, budgeters. And I feel like this is the best in the middle solution. If you're going to get wild with your water and your city tap water, your water coming out of your faucet is bad. I know for us, the particular place that we live in, we have high levels of arsenic in our water. Way above what the EPA allows to have. Okay, so your tap water is disgusting, most likely, so please filter it, number one. But we had to come up with an affordable filtering system. I know people that use a countertop distiller, and that's like the primo way to get everything out of your water, and then they add in minerals. Okay, that's an option. You could go reverse osmosis, similar thing. You're taking everything out of that water, stripping it completely, and then you add in minerals. For us, neither of those were an option from an affordability standpoint. So we found this clearly filtered pitcher, which has been amazing because it's got some awesome qualities that the Berkey had. It filters everything the Berkey said that it filtered and more. And so you just fill it up right here and then it drips down like a Brita filter. My only qualm about this is that the actual container where you can hold the water is much smaller, and so that's why I really like just pouring it into the Berkey.
So now we just keep it filling and we keep it pouring in the Berkey. That way we have extra water available to us.
We pour it right into our pitcher.
Pour it right into our pitcher, and basically it's like if this thing isn't running, we're missing out on an opportunity to keep filtering water because we've got storage kind of for it. So that's how we solved it. Is that we had ways to store the filtered water. And there we go.
The only other thing I'll say about Clearly Filtered is they do make a universal fridge filter. I personally don't drink cold water. I don't want to drink cold water, but if you're into cold water, you can stick that little thing in your fridge. I do believe they also have an under the sink filter, which again, it just depends on your financial ability to afford those things.
Right on.
This pitcher is $90, and then you replace the white filter in the middle about every 3 months.
Awesome.
That's it.